Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this calendar app with just HTML, CSS and JavaScript. When the page loads, it gets today's current date and it uses an API to fetch something that happened on the 11th of December for a random year or whatever date you select. If we go to the 12th, you see we get a different event that happened on that day for a random year, the 12th to the 12th, 1408. So just a fun little app to do. Okay, so we'll get started on this project then. Okay. So we'll start off with a blank Visual Studio Code. We'll get rid of that. Just close that for a minute. Okay. We'll just start off with a blank index HTML file. We'll use Emmet as a template. What I've done there was I press Shift and exclamation mark, and if you press Enter then you get the template, a boilerplate to start with. Okay. We'll create our other files as well. So we need a style.css file. We need a script.js. Okay, that's the three files we'll be using. So we'll start with our HTML, and inside in our body tag we need a main container. So just we use Emmet. If you just do .container, it'll type in the div for you. Okay, so in the top we need 3 divs. So our first div is going to be for the year. So we'll use image again. We'll do year, and we'll give it an ID of year, and we'll give it a class of year. Okay. And for the month, we'll do the same. We'll give it an ID of month and a class of month. And for the day one, then the day container is going to be slightly different. We're going to give it we'll still use the same. We'll give it an ID of day and a class of day. But inside this we're going to use an I tag. We're going to bring in Font Awesome first. So for Font Awesome, if we go to cdnjs.com and we get the Font Awesome library here, we select the copy link tag here. Copy this link for Font Awesome. Go back into our project. And we'll just paste that at the top. Okay. So view, just toggle wrap. Okay. And we'll we'll link our style sheet once we're here as well. Okay. So inside our div, our day div, we need an I tag, and the I tag, I'm going to give it an ID of day minus, and we're going to give it class of the same. Now we're going to use the font awesome classes here to bring in a chevron left, so we'd say FA slash chevron slash left. And then we're going to use a span. We'll give the span an ID of the input. And then we'll have another I tag for another chevron to the right. So for this one, we're going to give it an ID of day plus, a class of day plus, and some font awesome classes, FA slash chevron slash right. Okay, so for that then, I'd say ID equals day plus, and the class is going to be equal to FA slash FA chevron typo there slash right. Okay. I'm using the extension Prettier that formats it on save for me. Okay, so after the day input div, we're going to use a paragraph for the message date, so we'll use Emmet, so we'll say P okay, and then we're going to use a div for the message that's going to be returned from the ID, or from the API, sorry. So for this we're going to need an ID of message, and we're going to use a class of message. Okay, that should be it for the HTML. Just quickly have a look and see what it looks like. So I'm going to use the extension live server. So open it with live server. Okay, we have a typo. All we should be seeing is the two chevrons. So we'll go in here. Oh, yeah, delete that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll start on our CSS then. Okay, now let's go to our CSS file. Now, we're going to use a font from one of the Google fonts. We're going to import a font, and to do that, we'll just go to Google Fonts, and the font I'm going to use is this one here. So if you go to fonts.google.com, and if you just type in that there, this is the one that I'm using for this project. So we just click on that, and I scroll down. I'm going to use this one, semi-bold 600. So you just select this style, select the @import. @import imports it into the CSS file. If you want to use the linked tag, you use that in the head of the HTML. So I'm going to just import it into the CSS. So copy everything between the style tag. Just put it here at the top. Okay. And then in our body, then we'll start styling our body. So our body, we're going to have a height of 100. Now we're going to give it a width of 100 view width. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. So we're going to do a display flex in here, in the body. Justify the content center and align the item center. I'm going to give the background color of black. And the font family. Now the font family is going to be, we go back to our Google, our fonts.google, and we just copy this here. Font family. And we'll paste in the font family. Okay. Just fix that there. Close back that now. And we're just having an overflow of hidden to get rid of the scroll bars, if we have any scroll bars. Okay. Go back to our document. Just save that then. Okay. Just zoom in on that so you can see it better. Okay. So we have to do our container. I want to say text align center and this. I'm going to give the container a width of 30%. Now for the border top, the left side, we're going to give that a radius of 10 pixels. And we'll do the same for the right side, so I'm just going to copy this. And okay. Border right radius. And give it a background color of white. Okay, so kind of coming together there now. So, and we're going to give it a reflection. So we say dash web kit slash box slash reflection. Reflect. Now, I want to set that to below 5 pixels. And we're going to give it a linear gradient. And we'll set it in 3 stages. We'll do transparent. And for the second stage we'll do transparent again. And then we'll do hash 0004. So if you save that now, you kind of make out a bit of a reflection. We'll see that that'll be a lot clearer when we finish off our CSS and we put in some values into the container. So we're going to style the year section in the container next. So the container.year. We're going to give it a background color of red. And we're going to give it a padding of 5 pixels. We'll give it a height of 40 pixels. And we're going to set the line height. The line height of the text is going to be 40 pixels also. And we'll give the font color white. And we'll set the font size to 40 pixels. And we set the border radius. We'll set the border radius to the same as what we had up here. Border radius left and right top. I'll just paste them in there. Okay. Now, so that's the years part of the section. The year section. Now we'll do the month next. So dot month, and we'll just set a padding of 10 pixels and a font size of 30 pixels. Save that. Okay. So the day minus button, which is the left one here, and set a font size of 20 pixels, and we'll do a cursor pointer. And we'll set a transition on this. And we'll set that to transform. .3 seconds. Ease in, ease out. We're setting a transform on this for 3 seconds because we will have an on hover effect, and we want it to ease in and ease out. We want the hover effect to last 0.3 of a second. Okay, so just copy this because the day plus one is going to be the very same. So we just change this to plus. Okay. We have a typo in our HTML. Oh, we forgot to put the class of day plus in here. So we just copy that, paste that into the HTML, save that. Now, okay, we go back to our style.css, and on the day plus minus hover, we're going to set a hover effect on this, and we're just going to say transform. We're going to scale it to 1.5. Okay, the plus one is going to be the same. So we'll just zoom in a bit on this here so you can see it better. That's what the transition that we set here to the 0.3 of a second. You see the way it just gradually gets bigger, 0.3 of a second on the hover. Okay, so I'm going to style the message part next. And the padding is 10 pixels. And that's it for the CSS. Can't see it at the minute. If we just type in some text for the minute, so the year will be 220. Same month is December. Where else do we need an input? Message date, say 11/12/20. Just set some lorem ipsum. Oh, that's too much. Just delete this bit here. So if we save that, now we can see our style. We need something in here. The span will say 17, or I guess the 11th. Now, okay, we forgot to do the styling for the day, so we'll go back over the month and we'll set the day styling. So say that day, and we'll say a height of 20%, and we're going to say display flex, justify content, we're going to say space around, and we're going to align the items to the center, and we're going to set a font size of 8 rem and a padding of 10 pixels. Now, I'll just take some more of that. Oh, there's too much in there for the minute. Okay, so that's what we should have at the minute. We'll just go back to our code. And I'm going to, we'll start on our JavaScript next. So I'm just going to take all these hard-coded values out of here. We don't need them. JavaScript will be putting these in for us. So take them out. Okay. Okay, so that's what we should have to get started on our JavaScript. So we'll get started on our JavaScript now. So for our JavaScript, we're going to set a few variables. So we're going to set years first equal to document. That get element by ID. Okay, so we're going to target the year element. So we're just going to copy this down a few times. We're going to target the months next, the months element. We're going to target the year, or the days. We want to set days equal to day input. Now we're going to have another variable called days plus button, days plus button, and that's going to be equals to day plus, we set another variable to days minus button, so set this to the element day minus, and we have a message. We're going to set a message variable then. I'm going to set that to the element message, and we have another variable message date, and that is the element message date. Okay, I'm just going to set a few other variables then. We're going to use let for these because these will be changing. All the above ones are set to const. They can't be changed once you set the const, so these ones will be able to change. So we're just going to set day equal to an empty string first, and then let month and year, and then we're going to have a URL. URL is going to be used with the API we're going to fetch, so we'll be creating a dynamic URL for the fetch function. So we need to get the date first, so we're going to set up a function to do that. So say function, we're going to call this function get date, now I'm going to create another variable inside here called today. Should be getting today's dates, so we're going to say new date first. Okay, so we need to set our day, month and year variables then, so we're going to say day is equal to today dot get date, the month is going to be equal to today dot get month, and we want to set the year equal to today dot get full year. So they're straightforward enough. Now we're going to set the date to a string also. So I'm just going to say date string. We'll call it date string is going to be equal to today dot to string. So we're going to set our elements then to what's returned. So we're going to say years. We're going to set the inner HTML is going to be equal to year. So what this line of code is doing is going into the HTML, is finding our variable that we've set to years. We've set year to years, so we're setting the inner HTML to what our function is after calculating the year to be for us. Same with the months and the dates, but the months is slightly different. So we're going to set the months dot inner HTML. We're going to set that equal to the data string, the date string, and we're going to split the date string. We want to split it by a space, so everything is going to be split into a space, and we want to return the second part of it. So it starts from 0, so we say 1. That'll return the month to us. Okay, and we're going to set today's element that inner HTML is going to be equal to day. Okay, so I'll do a console log and show you what I'm actually doing here. So I say console log. I'll just put this inside in it. And we'll do another console log here. And we put our months in it and show you how I'm returning the months. Okay, so we save that now. Make sure we're calling the function getDate. So we'll go back into our application. Reload it. Something wrong here. Try it again. Okay. I forgot to call it in the body. We need to put in our script source. I always forget to do this. Script source. And we want to call script.js. So we put that in our HTML. Now, see, we're setting our date and our year, our month, and we go into the inspector tool. Now, so our first console.log returned Friday, December. So we go back to our code. First console log was the date string that we wanted to bring back. So the date string equals today.strings. And then to get the month, the months we were setting to the date string, we were splitting it by the space and we were returning the second part of it. So you can see the second part is December. So that's how I got December from the string. I hope that makes sense now. Okay, so if we get rid of these console.logs, we don't need the console.logs anymore. Okay, so we need, after we call the function, we need to set the URL for the API. We're going to set that equal to, I'll just give you a look at the API. This is the API I'm using on this day. BYA, BBE. So there's 3 different things we can do. We can get events, dates, births, see what happened on a certain day. So I'm using the events one for this application. So you can see it returns event and it returns the year and the description. So we'll start working on that now and show you how this is working. So we use the backticks because we want to use some variables inside the string. So we're going to set the URL to https byabbe.se slash on this day, and to use the variables inside in the string we use a $sign and the curly braces. So we want to set to the month, and we're going to say +1 because the array of the month starts as 0. So the month for January will be 0, but if we really want January, we want to say +1. Okay, so what this will return is, the way the get month works is it returns the value starting from 0. So January will be 0, February will be 2. So we need to add 1 so the API will know what month we're looking for. I'll just do a console.log month here, and I'll show you what way it's working. So we'll just save that. Go back to our application. Inspect. Console. See, it's returning 11, and we're in the month of December. So to tell the API December, we just add 1 to it. So it's going to be putting in 12. So this month +1 is going to be 12. Then we need to provide the API with a day as well. So we'll say $, curly brackets, day. And then to finish off the address, it's events.json. Events.json. Okay. Then we need to call another function. I'm going to call this get API data, and this is going to have our fetch function in it. So we'll create that function now. So our function get API data. Now we're going to fetch and you want to fetch the URL. We're after setting the URL to the month and the day, and we're storing it up here on row 12. So a fetch returns a promise. So for the promise, it's going to be with the response we get back. We want to convert it to JSON, so we do response and then response.json. And then with our JSON, we have, we'll say .then, and we have the data returned. So with the data returned, we're going to fill in the message inside in our app, and we're going to fill in the date that's returned from the API into our app as well. So the message we get on the bottom will be coming from here now. So first of all, I'm going to declare the length of the data that's returned. So we're going to say let the data length equals data dot events dot length. Okay. I'll just console log the data first and I'll show you what I'm doing. Console.log. So we save that, go back to our application, inspect, get API is not defined. Oh, that should be capital D. Okay. I have an error with our API. Go back and check that, sorry. So the URL equals, okay, we need to put a minus sign in there. Just check everything else is good. That should be good. Okay, so now we have our promise returned. So you can see it's returning the date, December the 11th. And here's our events. This is where I'm getting the events from. So I'm saying data.events.length. So if I click on events, I open that up. Scroll down to the bottom, we have another events.length is here, so that's 49, and I want to return a random one of these every time because I don't want to be returning them all. So to get a random one, we have the length of them, we know how long they are, so we're just going to say let random number. I'm going to select a random number. We're going to set the random number. It's going to be equal to mat.floor. What the floor method does is it returns a decimal as an integer, and so then we do mat.random. What random will do, should be a small a. What mat.random, it'll return a number between 0 and 1 in decimals, 0.1, 0.2, so on. So the mat.floor will turn the decimal into a number for us. But we want to multiply that then by the length of all of our descriptions. So it's going to know to pick one between 0 and the length of the data. Okay, so once we have our data length and we have our random number, we can return the date into our API, and we can bring in the message as well. So we put in the message, we bring in the message date first. So the message date is we're going to set the inner HTML. That's going to be equal to, we'll put in our backticks again, and we're going to say on the, and we'll say $, our curly braces to use our variable, on the day and the month, we need to add 1 because all the months that are returned from 0 to 11, so we need to add 1. And then we're going to say $that. What's it? Data. So it's going to be equal to the data dot events, and we need the random number that we returned, and we're going to take the year from it. Okay, and then also what we want to do is we want to put the message in there, so we're going to set the message in our HTML. And that's going to be equal to the data dot events, and use the square brackets again, the random number, and it's going to be equal to the description. Okay, so we'll go back here now. I'll just do a console log of the data here to show you where I'm getting everything. So we go back here. Okay, so we have the year, the month, the day, we have our date, and we have the message returned back from the API. So in our API, we have, it should be data.events. So in the first section, we wanted to get the day and the month, which we calculated ourselves, but we were returning the year from the fetch. The promise returned, so we said data.events and the random number which we calculated, and we brought back the year. So you can see events and a random number, and then we have the year, and we done the exact same. Then we had the random number still, so we brought back the events, and we went to the random number, and we brought back the description. So that's how we returned the year and the description into our app. Okay, so we need to then focus on getting the next day and the previous day. So So on the buttons, we're going to set some event listeners. So on the plus button and the minus button. So days, I'm just going to copy it from here. So the days plus button dot add event listener, and we're going to set a click. So on the click, I'm going to call a function. We're going to create that in a minute, but I'm going to call it get tomorrow. Okay, so I just copy that down because we need one for the minus button as well. So just copy that. So today's minus button, I'm going to call a function. We'll create that now as well. So I want to say yesterday. Okay. Get this, get the API. So we'll create these in here. So we're going to say function get tomorrow. Okay, so for the get tomorrow one, it's going to be, we're just going to copy all this in here. It's going to be very similar, but we have to add one more piece. So we copy in that, and we're setting, so I'm going to say, we're just going to press Control D. I'm going to select all the today's D. I'm going to set them to tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to set them to, okay. Which are, so we're saying const tomorrow equals new date, but that's only returning the time now, today's date. We need to set it to tomorrow. So we're just going to say tomorrow, and to set it for tomorrow, we do a method called set date, and we're going to put in tomorrow dot get date plus 1. So that's going to be reassigning it to tomorrow. Plus 1. Okay, so we save that. And now we need a function. We're just going to copy all this again, because yesterday is going to be the very same, only we're going to be taking one away and we're using the variable yesterday. Okay, so Control D, select all the tomorrows and set them to yesterday. Okay, and instead of setting it to +1, we need to set it to -1. Okay, so we're calling our API, we're setting all our modes. That should be it then. Go back into our application. I have something spelled wrong. Script line 15. Get yesterday. Oh, I forgot to change this. Okay, now we'll try it again. Okay, so close that. So we have the, it's being called straight away when the function loads, because we're just calling get date straight away, and that's returning today's values. So if we press the plus button, we have the 12th of December, and it's bringing back a description that happened on the 12th of the 12th, 1939. Dates are not changing. Let's just see what's going on here. Oh yes, sorry. So in the get yesterday and in tomorrow, we need to pass in, we need to set the new date for what we want to get. So just going to say year and the month and the day. And we're going to do the same for that in our yesterday. So let's save that now. Let's go back to our application. Now everything is working as it should. Yeah. So we have the year, the month, the day, and we're bringing back our description for what happened on the 15th to the 12th, 2001. If we go back, we have for the 14th, and we're getting a different one every time because we're selecting a random number. Okay, thanks very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I will respond as soon as I can. If you like this video, please subscribe.